Hi everybody, it's Tammy from Married and Naked, and today I wanted to talk to you about something that I think we can all relate to, and that is differences. The differences between us as individuals in our relationship. My husband and I are very different people. I'm sure you and your spouse are as well. We couldn't be more different. We've been married for almost 19 years now, and one of the things that we have always fought about is money. Forever in our whole relationship, we have had nonstop arguments about money. And I remember a few years back, we were having another argument about money. And it was with regards to some money that I was going to spend on a gift for somebody. My husband was so upset that I was going to spend money on this gift. And I remember it was $40 that I was going to spend. And we had this big argument about it again, which we've had over and over and over and over again. It was just the same cycle that we continuously ran through. And I remember we were at my in-laws' house and we were having this argument up in the bedroom. And I stomped out in tears and I shut the door to the bathroom and I was sitting there crying. And I remember just having this very clear thought in the midst of those tears. And that thought was, I am never going to be able to change him. I'm never going to change him. No matter how hard I try, he is always going to be him. And I remember thinking, you have a choice here, Tammy. You have a choice to accept this person that you've married and the differences that you have, or you have the choice to continuously argue and possibly let it lead to a marriage that's either unhappy or that doesn't last. And in that moment, I chose acceptance. And I walked out of the room and I sat down next to him and I said, I just had this realization. And that realization is, you're never going to change. And I didn't mean that in a bad way. It was just fact. See, I had been trying to change him into who I wanted him to be. I wanted him to be like me. I wanted him to be more free with money, more relaxed, not stress so much about it. I'd been trying to change him. And I told him, I'm not going to be able to do that. You are who you are. See, the thing is, he has a very different background than I do. His parents divorced at the age of 5, and his mom, for a very short period of time, was on welfare. Money was tight, and she was a single working mom, and they didn't have anything extra. Me, on the other hand, both my parents worked good jobs. Money was never really an issue. At least if it was, I never felt it. And so for me, money is something that we save and we work hard for, yet we enjoy as well. For my husband, it has always been a save thing for the fear of not having it when you need it. And when I told him, you're never going to change, I had a realization that he is who he is because of his background, because of where he came from. And I am who I am because of that as well. And that doesn't mean he's wrong or I'm wrong. All it means is that we are different. We are inherently and will always be different in how we treat money and how we handle it and how we talk about it and how we feel about it. And I just at that moment decided to accept that he's different than me. And from that moment on, when we would start to feel that tension come on about money, I would think in my head, you know what? I get it. I get why he feels this way. He is feeling afraid of maybe not having money in the future. And it changed everything. When I can stop and accept him for who he is and understand where that argument on his side is coming from, that is coming from far more than surface. It's coming from an entire background. And it comes from a space, for him anyways, of fear of not having that money in the future. Suddenly, I don't have the need to argue. I understand, and we can now have a discussion rather than an argument. It's a totally different ballgame. And I've told people this, and I mean it honestly, from that moment when I had that epiphany, or whatever you want to call it, sitting there in the bathroom with all those tears falling, of realizing I'm not going to change him, that I need to choose to accept him and understand where that difference comes from. We don't argue about money anymore. We, honest to goodness, do not argue. We don't always see eye to eye, but our discussions are different. It comes from a place of understanding and acceptance rather than butting heads. Why don't you feel the way I do? How come you don't agree with me? It's not that way anymore. And it's completely transformed our lives, our marriage, in this argument that we had for decades, because we were together long before we got married. And suddenly I kind of have this epiphany of acceptance and understanding, and the argument is no longer there. And I just wanted to throw that out to you because it was a monumental moment for me and a monumental moment for our marriage, and it shifted things dramatically. And I just want you to think about that the next time that you come to an argument, maybe that you've had over and over and over. And I want you to think about possibly why that argument comes to play on your end, why it comes to play on theirs. What is the background? Why are those feelings maybe coming to surface? And I want you to think about the idea of acceptance, that you guys are different and you will always be different. And I want you to not work under the cliche of trying to change your spouse, because you're not going to. It's not your job to change them. They are who they are, just as you are who you are, and it's not your spouse's job to change you. It is our job to accept each other for our differences, to begin to celebrate our differences. And I promise your arguments will begin to change, and they won't be as heated, and they'll start to come from a place more of understanding rather than fighting, rather than trying to win. And I think that's the key.